Okay, hello. I am Stacy Nelson. Lisa calls me Cece. We argue about that all the time. But I am sitting here once again with Peter Poole, owner of Vitus Consulting. Look, I got it right today. How
Yes.
sharp am I?
There's progress.
We won't even have to cut that one. Okay, we're sitting here, and we've been chatting, and you had some great sound bites that I didn't record, which is typical. But you started talking about what it takes to actually become a wine grower, to actually grow the grapes that turn into this wonderful juice that's wine that I'm completely addicted to on so many levels. And I said, well, gee, you just kind of buy some land and plant some vines and call it a day, right? A little bit of water.
Well,
and the look on your face was priceless. You looked at me like, no.
I would really prefer, usually what happens is somebody goes out and does buy the land, and probably the most important thing is they find some land that they just really like the place. Now, there's something to be said for that, to feeling a real connection with a spot or a piece of land that you're going to throw yourself into.
The pool goes here, and the kitchen window goes here.
Well, depending on what it is. If you're going to live there or you're going to grow a vineyard, yeah, the connection with the land is important. But I would really prefer if somebody had a piece of land they were looking at buying, and or maybe several different ones, that they call me up, and we go and look at it, and we can do some fairly quick determinations as to the suitability for certain things. And then if they really get down to it, I can provide a site study for them. I've actually suggested this to some real estate people to say, to give, if this is considered to be vineyard land here, let me do a site study, and this can become part of your sales package, that you have something that says, here's an independent consultant who looked at this land. And what we're looking at in doing a report is factors that are just important in growing grapes. And that would be actually starting with the climate. And although...
so it's not just soil and water and some sun? No,
because the climate is not just, what's the weather like in Temecula, but you can get into... that would be called the macro climate, the big climate, okay?
And but generally it gets about, 100 degrees in the summer?
Yeah, the average actually in the wine country, temperature station, CIMAS, which is operated by the state of California, July and August, average high is 91 degrees.
Oh, it just feels warmer.
Well, we get hotter days, but 91 degrees is the average in July and August. So that's the macro climate. But on a particular vineyard site, it could be somewhat different. You could get different air movement in a place, and that you might be looking at both highs and lows there, what occurs due to slopes in the vineyard. The direction of the slope, you can get something that gets stronger south-facing is going to get hotter. If it's an east or north-facing, it's going to be a little more cool, maybe even not quite as much. You're not going to have as much solar intensity, those kind of things. Topography and soils as well. When you put these things in, when you look at the topography and you do an analysis of the soils, then you can start zoning in on which varieties are going to grow best on this site. So it's not always the best thing to say, we love this grape variety and we're going to put it here. If you know what grape varieties that you want to grow, it would be nice to look for the right site for those grape varieties. Rather than looking for a site and then saying, I want to put Cabernet on it, if it shouldn't go there.
So it sounds horribly complicated. When you go out and you look at this piece of land, you make a preliminary judgment. How? Well, I mean, obviously you're the expert, and a layman can't go out and say, oh, look, we're facing this way. And it sounds horribly complicated.
This would really depend on what the client wants, but yeah, right. I can spend an hour with them on a site and make some pretty quick determinations that might tell them more than I would hope would tell them more than they didn't know coming in. But I would probably recommend, if they want to go to a higher level, to guide them in making some of the right decisions, that I spend a few days on this and turn out a report such as you see these bound reports that I have here.
Which is, for those in radio land, quite impressive. There's a table of contents, there's recommendations. It's quite an impressive report. So you put a lot of work into this.
That's right. Yes, and I'm accessing. You can take it at several different levels. A lot of what I'm doing is accessing available climate and soil information, but then part of it is not just that you get that information, but how you interpret it.
Right.
And then the other thing I can do, if we want to go farther, we can do site-specific soil analysis where you're sending samples to the laboratory and things like that. And I really recommend that. You could wait on that before purchasing, but I would say you definitely do that before planting. So now we're moving on. So if you
onto the planting.
So yes. So before you plant, you want to know whether you should be amending the soils to improve them, and whether you've got any biological pests in the soils that might need a particular rootstock or something of that sort.
So we go through the process, we get this report, we're so excited because the piece of land that we fell in love with can now plant Cabernet, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yes.
And yay, we have the report, we get everything planted. At what point does it look like we're successful? How long from that point where you say, this is perfect for your land, and we plant that first little precious vine, to the point where we're going and we see our grapes being sent off and we're all happy?
Well, you can get a little bit of grapes off of there in the third year, but it's not much.
So you're not expecting instant success?
No, not at all. The one thing I will say is, if you've done the planning right, then running the vineyard, if you're aiming to get high quality, and really honestly, I always say quality is many different things. A bottle of wine that sells for $6 has to have quality control. Right. And they're aiming for that type of quality in the market. And if it tastes bad, you're not going to buy it even at $6. So there's quality control at all levels. And so I think you have to understand what the aim of the winery is and what playing field they want to be on. But generally speaking, if you've planned the vineyard well from the beginning with looking at the soils and everything, then there's maybe a little less expense running the vineyard, because you don't have to be doing a lot of things to fix problems. So that's where, you maybe pay a little bit up front, but you're trying to save money down the road by not having some mistakes you have to deal with.
And by talking to you, you can save a lot of extra money down the road by planting the wrong things, making the wrong mistakes. We were talking about making mistakes earlier, right?
Well, yes.
Hopefully.
They're quite easy to make.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up today, and I'm hoping we can sit down again with you sometime.
That would be great.
All right. I haven't offended you. I even got the name of your company right this time.
Yes.
Vitus. Yeah. Vitus. All right, Peter. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.